Hello, welcome to my channel. I go by the name Justin Sight, and I wanted to give you basically the essence of what my work is about, share a bit of my backstory, how it is I became a magician, and how exactly I became inspired to use the art of magic as a vehicle for spiritual awakening. I was diagnosed legally blind at age 10, a condition called Stargardts Macular dystrophy. It's a form of macular degeneration. The cells in the center of your eye die. The cells in the retina die. You're left with primarily peripheral vision. Around this time that I was diagnosed, there was a special from the late 90s to the early 2000s called World's Greatest Magic. My mom happened to just kind of storm into my room and said, "Hey, you got to turn on this channel." And it was this marathon of this incredible special showcase of magicians from all over the world doing primarily stage, but a lot of close-up and stuff. And it's really the close-up that drew me. From then on, I just started reading and watching and videotaping everything magic related that I could find. And it definitely became sort of my bridge to be social and interact as a child. My teenage years, around 14 or 15, I experienced, like many youngsters do at that time, their first, say, romantic relationship. And it was very much kind of a living on cloud nine type situation where all of a sudden I was experiencing something that up to that point I just saw almost as inconceivable for a person like me. I had grown up being overweight and certainly not the popular kid. The relationship dissolved pretty quickly, and I was left with emotion that I had not been prepared for. Severe anxiety every day, coupled with depression. I was experiencing panic attacks on a daily basis. Every time I would climb a flight of stairs, I would have another panic attack. It had come to a point where it was so bad, I had opened up to someone about it, a friend in class, and she suggested that I read a book called The Four Agreements. And I would say that that book was the trigger for an awakening to what was going on inside me that was producing this intense suffering. From that point forward, it became clear to me the dysfunctional thought processes and perceptions that were producing my experience, that seeing through those, changing those, was more important than anything else. I knew that there's nothing I could do externally that would bring the peace that I was looking for. Not to ignore the external world, but if I were to express continuously from a state of fear and a state of misperception, then no matter what I did out there, I would never find the peace I was seeking. After graduating high school, what I sought most in the external world was independence. Well, unfortunately, with my eyesight, getting simple entry-level work was very challenging. I was finally able to land a job as a doorman through a friend, and within that time I was able to start making trips to New York City. I realized that the opportunity to pursue magic as a career was very much alive. So the hours from my doorman job started to get cut, and all of a sudden I had to make extra money. So I had incentive to start coming into the city every day and performing in the subways, which is what I did. The connections started to build. The right people in the right places and the right circumstances came. And I was able to move out here and make a living performing in the subway. And there was a lot of energy behind my new circumstances and this new chapter in my life. And opportunities came for sure. But after about 2 years, that energy was no longer able to sustain me. The mentality I was going off was that I had to make it first, whatever that meant, and to me it meant being discovered. And then once that happens, then I could start integrating my passion for spiritual awakening into the magic. That break didn't come, and it became more and more difficult to keep up the hustle, if you will. Got to a real low in a place where I needed to really reassess what I was doing. Stumbled upon a book series called Conversations with God that I had known about for a while. And through engagement in that book series, realized that there's basically nothing I needed to wait for. That I can start being what I wanted to be right now. Doing what I wanted to do right now in whatever capacity that I could. And what I wanted to do was use magic as a means to facilitate spiritual awakening. So for the past 3 years, that's been the main focus of my work. I get inspired or hooked by certain themes and ideas about, say, the nature of reality or the nature of identity and ego, usually things that are being drawn from current experiences in my life. How can I express these insights, these ideas through magic? Spiritual awakening, to me, as I mentioned, is a multifaceted process. There's a lot more here than meets the eye, and there's a lot to explore. Ultimately, what it comes down for me is being able to live from a space of inner peace and express yourself joyously in the play of outer forms, in the outer world. I think it's obvious to many of us that we're at a time of global uncertainty as to what the future of our species is going to be. As far as I see it, any permanent or true external change has to emerge from an internal one. For those that are going through a dissolution of feeling separate from your neighbor or your fellow human, perhaps you can look within and see if there's something you feel called or inspired from a deep place to humbly do. And if we do feel called to humbly assist through our work or art or whatever, to perhaps give ourselves permission to see that whatever we feel like we can share, we are sharing because we too have to learn. And thus we can help contribute while also remaining humble. If there's one lesson that I'm continuously learning on this path, is that it's not so much what we do as how we do what we do that makes all the difference. It is primary. I hope 2020 brings you clear visions, and I thank you for your time.